Well, welcome to the Jerry Reynolds Show, and basically it's going to be a little bit of a Reynolds wrap here. I give you some opinions about several things, All-Star Game, the League, Players Association. Got a few thoughts for you. Obviously, I don't expect you to agree with me all the time, although you probably should. But first, make sure that you do subscribe. So hit that bell and subscribe, because I think you'll be glad that you did. And certainly we're just proud to be coming to you from the McCreary's studios here at the McCreary's Furniture Showroom. So anyway, with all that being said, let's just get started. I think the thing that I want to talk about first is, since it's kind of what's happened, the NBA All-Star Game just recently happened. And of course, including in that is the whole process, so to speak, where you have celebrity games, three-point contest, skills challenge, dunk contest, as well as the game. And I've got some thoughts on all of that, as well as, just the overall timing of when they play the game. So my first thought kind of is, of course, they've had to move the game back a lot because they feel like, until the NFL season's over, they're obviously the attention just won't be there as long as, and so as the NFL season has been pushed back, so has the All-Star Game, and now we're at the stage where it used to be pretty much halfway through the season when you had the All-Star Game. 41, 42, 3 games was more like that 15, 20 years ago, and then now it's the point where most teams have played 2/3 of their season, at least 54, 55 games. So really the All-Star Game doesn't have anything to do with halfway. It's just a break in the season, which in some ways may be even better, because I think all the players, do need a break, and probably broadcasters as well. Now, one thing I got to keep in mind, I got to quit using my hands so much. Mrs. Reynolds says, you're using your hands too much. So I'll try to do better there. So that's driving her crazy. Of course, she's good about finding a few flaws here and there, but so I'll try to do better about that. So on the All-Star Game itself, I think a lot of people at least felt like that the league is on the right track, because the game ended up very exciting. I think just listening to a lot of people's opinion. I'm not of that. I don't know that I agree with that. I think it was exciting at the end, but I'm still one of those people, I know, old school, curmudgeon, if you want to say that. But I just believe it should be more competitive from the start, not wait till the fourth quarter or the end of the game to get to that point. And that's still where we are. They certainly competed hard at the end, but why not the first half as much, other than just a glorified dunk drill and three-point contest. So, that part bothers me. And I heard a great suggestion, that I think is great, from Michael Wilbon on Pardon the Interruption on ESPN. I don't know if people watch that show, but it's one of my favorites. He and Tony Kornheiser, I think, just do a marvelous job. But his suggestion was that they should have, for the All-Star Game, it becomes a American All-Stars versus the World All-Stars. And of course, the World All-Stars that are in the NBA, and there's plenty of them. I just wanted to jot down a few of them just for your thoughts here. If you had a World All-Star team that are NBA players, you'd have guys like Nikola Jokic, Joel Embiid, Siakam, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Vucevic, Ben Simmons, Gobert, Doncic, 2 Bogdanoviches, and of course maybe Buddy Hield, Gallinari, Steven Adams, DeAndre Ayton maybe at some point could be there. So, and I'm sure I've left off several. So you can see if you just took those first 5 or 6 I mentioned, that'd be more than enough of a challenge for the very best American All-Stars. And I think it would be a naturally competitive game from the start. You wouldn't have to wait till the fourth quarter to see guys competing with one another. I think the competitive juices would flow, and I think that'd be a real event, and get it back to the way it used to be, back when people my age used to watch it in the 70s, when they really did. The money itself was a factor, because the players didn't make that much money, and the winning team, winning meant a lot to them. And so I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the very best players playing at their best and competing at their best the whole game, just like you'd want to see during the regular season. So give that a thought. I think of the events, I certainly the 3-point contest. I think you could almost leave that just as it is. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the extra point for the real long shots, but that's okay. The G balls or whatever they're called, I don't know. But if they want to keep that in, that's okay. It was exciting. Bunch of great shooters. Very happy that Buddy Hield of the Kings won. But it was just a really a fun thing to watch because you had so many great shooters, and it came down to a shot in the last shot, and so that's kind of what you always hope for. So I wouldn't really mess with that much. I think the same way probably with the skills competition. I don't know what it. The only thing I might do is just allow for maybe a shorter jump shot to end it, because sometimes a guy can have shown the most skill, but then he has a tough time. He doesn't make the longer jump shot, and I'm not sure that's what it's about. Just make a shot. So just a thought there. And then as the dunk contest, the guys, of course, a little controversy because a lot of people thought Aaron Gordon should have won. For those of you who watched it, I think you could make that case, but I have no problem with Derrick Jones winning. They were both great. I just thought overall the scoring and how it was handled was pretty bush league. If you're going to have a competition, you really need to have it judged better, scored better, be more technical with it. Much like if an Olympic diving contest, you don't have a bunch of people who have never been involved in diving. When you have the dunk contest judges, why not have all the judges be people who have competed maybe in one previous dunk contest? If you could get Dominique Wilkins and Dr. J and Brent Berry and just some of the players that have won in past years. Certainly Kenny Smith from the former King, he competed in it, and so Doug Christie competed in it. But have guys that have did it, I think would obviously mean something. Guys like Vince Carter, for sure, would be almost an automatic. Have him every year. Anyway, it just seems to me it'd make more sense to have somebody that's been good at it and understands the true difficulty of what they're watching. Not just get caught up in emotion or have maybe a bit of a bias because if somebody played for their team. So those are thoughts there. And I would probably, the last thing is if you're going to use props in it, whatever you do, a dunk needs to be, once it's a guy's turn, should be done in 30 seconds. It's almost like these, any of the things we've talked about before by challenges. I mean, good grief, get it on. Don't try to make a 5-minute production out of it. So that's my thoughts there. Now some thoughts, just overall as the season's winding down, because you really get into obviously hunts for playoff now, and of course some teams are out of the playoffs, so it's the old thought of, the draft or tanking or whatever people want to call it. I think it's pretty disgusting, especially in a draft like it seems to me this year, which, it's really going to be a very poor draft. I don't think there's any question about that. It's just a matter of somebody will go number one, though, guarantee it, and they'll probably be the best player in the draft may go 15. You just don't know who it's going to be. It's one of those drafts. But we'll see. And but my thoughts on the playoffs, and I've had this for a long time, and I know the TV people and the NBA certainly would not agree with me. But I would like to see, it won't happen this year, but I would really like to see it get to just the top 16 teams. And number one plays 16. Doesn't make any difference if it's number one is the Los Angeles Clippers and number 16 is the Washington Wizards. So be it. They play the first round, 1 and 16, and you say, well, the schedule isn't equally balanced. That's okay. Some years it'll benefit the West, some years it'll benefit the East, but you'd still have the teams with the 16 best records. That's still better than it currently is, where several non-500 teams may make it from, say, the East, and maybe a couple of 500 teams from the West won't make it. So to me, it'd still be much better and improved without doing anything abnormal to the schedule. You play 82 games. Overall, it'd be better and it'd balance out. So one playing 16, people say, oh, the travel could be a problem. Of course it could be a problem. They have what they call airplanes now. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, and they're jets, and they charter them, and they don't play back-to-backs. And so it's just not an issue, really not an issue. And at all. If you've ever been on one of those charters, you know it isn't. So if they played back-to-back, yes, it'd be an issue, but it's not. And of course, in my opinion, they really ought to not take more than one day between games. Teams are used to playing more rapidly during the season, so why stretch it out so much in the playoffs? And I realize, and I don't think it hurt personally TV viewership at all. I mean, right now the TV viewership the last couple of years is dropping dramatically, and I think part of it is the length of the schedule, and then just stretching out the playoffs till middle of summer. It's like, good grief, you're starting to wear your fans out. I know as much as I love the game, there's times after the first round I'm just about burnt out by then. And so now that gets me to one of my real controversial thoughts. First round. In the NBA playoffs, they play 7 games, or could play 7 games. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. You know, you play 7 games in the finals. When I came in the league, the first round was 3 games. I think it still should be. And the main criteria, people would say, well, geez, you might have the best teams upset. Yes, you might. You might have upsets. Wow. What do you think about that? Why do you think the March Madness is so popular? Because the best teams sometimes get upset. You know, that's the idea, upsets. Create a little excitement. Best of 3 gives a weaker team maybe a little better chance. Well, still won't happen much because the best team with the best record of the 2 always will have 2 home games, so they still should win. If they don't, why would you feel sorry for them? So anyway, best of 3, first round. Rounds after that should be best of 5. Not best of 7, best of 5. And then when you get to the championship round, it is a championship round. Okay, best of 7. I'll go with that. But it ought to be different. You know, just like it is one of the things if baseball can play a 162 game schedule and they have the wild card games be 1 game to advance. I mean, I don't see how playing 3 is such a big challenge. So anyway, I just, you tell me. But I think most fans would prefer that, and I think in the long run, I think the ratings would be better because with a little more pressure on each game, more people are inclined to watch, and I think advertisers could be made whole in different ways, and that's what really counts. Plus, with the diminishing ratings, I'm not sure what you got to lose. I think you need to try some different things. So that's I think that would be a little bit better. And of course, like I say, I sure don't like the idea of 2 or 3 days off between games of any of the different rounds. It just it's not, when you've been used to playing 3 and 4 games a week all year long, why allow that to change dramatically? And players get plenty of rest. Let's see. I think too the suggestion I'd have for the league, and I'd say maybe the Players Association to some degree, is all the complaining to the referees. Oh man, I know some of you saying, well, Jerry, I remember, those of you really old, you say, I remember you coaching, you complained all. Yes, I did. It's embarrassing how much I did, ridiculous, and I was wrong almost all the time, and it serves almost no purpose. They don't change the calls because you're whining and whimpering and make a fool of yourself. But now, we almost expect the coaches to complain on every call, every player to complain on every call, and it serves no purpose. the home team always thinks they're getting shafted, and it really takes away from the respect of the officials who are doing the best they can in an impossible job. It's an impossible job to do without missing some calls. If you don't know, believe that, go try to call a 7th grade game, some of you that have got all the answers. Take your butt out there, put a whistle on, and call a game, and just see how difficult it is at that level, not at the NB level where, I mean, hit action is fast, and then it's just impossible, I think, to get them all right. I think what most coaches, most people realize there's probably going to be 10, 12 missed calls a game, and you hope it evens out, and generally it does. And most of the time it does. And now with the replay system and all, you've got a chance to make up for most of those. So, you know, they're human, and so unless they can find some robot to do it better, and I think that's a long way off. I would just like to see a situation where if you want to talk to the referee, you have to be the captain of the team or the head coach. Nobody else. Anybody else that's going to go think they got to have a right to have a discussion. That should be an automatic technical. I think it's speed the game up, make it better on officials, make it better on the players, because they can concentrate on playing, which is kind of what they're paid to do, I think. And just take the devil's advocate of this a little bit. How would the players like it if every time they missed a layup, the referees would run up to them and say, "What's wrong? Can't you make a layup? Jiminy Christmas, you know?" Or after a timeout, the play that the coach calls is terrible, and the ref should run over there and say, "What kind of call was that? Gee whiz, don't you know what you're doing?" That sort of. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, you know. Hey, fair is fair, right? So that's a thought, and I think that would be good. And I think the Players Association ought to be concerned about it a little bit, because it reflects on their players, you know, and that's who they represent. And I think that would be good, and I think they ought to have some concern, and I think as fans do, and the load management stuff. I just don't see any way. I understand in some players' cases, and I think it may apply, but not in very many. Not in very many. There's a reason that Michael Jordan may be the greatest player to ever play. Certainly one of them made every attempt to play as many games as he could, because he said, "I feel an obligation to the people who came to see me play, my team play. They may be only have seen me play one time in person, and I need to be out there." That's a tremendous way to look at it, I think. And I mean, you look back through the history of the game, and most of the greats felt that way. That they know that they're the stars, and they know that people are paying a lot of money, not just to see the game, but to see them. And so I think that should be, held out there a little bit more. Not the old, well, he's got to, he's hurt, so maybe it just, take off the rest of the year and be ready for next year. It's like, what? What's that got to do with it? Anyway, I mean, how would most employers feel if their employees, all of them, felt that way? Well, I got the flu. I'll be back in 6 months. I don't think that'd go too well, do you? Anyway, so much for that. I know, probably not going to change anything. I think the other thing that I have an opinion on, and is the national TV broadcast, and I of course love the game, and I watch them all, but I think things I don't like 3-man broadcast crews, because that means there's 2 color guys, and invariably everybody thinks they have to talk all the time, and so you almost have competing interests there. And plus, in basketball, there's a lot more action. In football, most of the best broadcast teams, it's Tony Romo and a play-by-play, Troy Aikman and play-by Chris Collins. So you only have one color guy in football, and you have all that time to talk, but you only have 2 guys. In baseball, same thing. You have all kinds of time to talk between pitches and different things, and very rarely do you have more than 2 people in the booth, and sometimes in the very best, Vin Scully did it by himself. So for the most part, so I just think that's a mistake. you know, certainly one color analyst is plenty. And of course, I'm of the feeling that the color analyst has to be clearly the number two person. The play-by-play guy is the guy that's talented, and that's his profession, and he should be carrying the broadcast, not the like we see on the college game where Dick Vitale just dominates or something. And I mean, Dick's a nice man, but it's like no, it's over the top. Let the play-by-play guy control the broadcast, and actually, I think you'll be able to follow the game and not talk over the game, but follow the game. I think would really help the broadcast, and I think the national ratings. It certainly wouldn't hurt to try, because they're certainly going down the tubes, or they've lost a lot. And it's not that the people aren't talented, because they are. I just think it's a case of sometimes more is not better. Just a thought, and that goes for all the halftime shows when you got half a dozen people talking. It's like, really, half a dozen people talking means really nobody's saying much, right? That's bottom line. So that's my thought on that. Agree or not agree? I'll tell you some things I really like, though, about the league today, and I mean, I really do enjoy the overall style of play, where you really have more talented all-around basketball players on the floor. A lot of it's due to the three-point shooting, but you really have the open basket. You don't. When I came in the league years ago, it was always an inside-out game, and I think you need some more of that than we currently see, but you really didn't have as much cutting and perimeter shooting or really all position players. Now you have guys that really are basketball players. They're highly skilled. They can shoot, rebound. They can play several positions, defend several positions. Not now about the only specialist you have in the NBA, and even this is less so, is the center position, especially the Rudy Gobert's type that are pretty much around the basket for protection, and the true point guard, the Chris Pauls. I mean, you still have those guys that are specialists at one position, but very few. So more and more we're having guys that even at those positions that are so versatile, that whether it's a Joel Embiid or the way DeMarcus Cousins used to be, where you could step out and play away from the basket as well as inside, even though you're 7-footer. Anthony Davis comes to mind there as well. And then, of course, so-called point guards, really, which LeBron James is and always has been, by the way. People always called him a small forward, but he always controlled the ball. And Ben Simmons at 6'10", but they could play all positions. So I always thought, I think that's good. I mean, I think you have a really, really skilled guys, and if you're not a really valuable basketball player and a skilled player, you probably can't get on the court much. So I really, really do like that. Let's see. What other things? Some things I don't like. No, I think I covered most of those. I'll tell you what I like. I like the game production. And I came to that slowly. I was one of those people that kind of believed that when the players came out to warm up, they just came out to warm up. You didn't need any music. You didn't need anything at all. Just let them come out. And halftime, players went in the locker room. You rolled out the group of balls to the middle floor and waited till they come back out. You didn't need anything going on. But I really have changed my mind on. I really think teams and league in general has done a great job of putting on a nice show, not just halftime shows or whatever, but basically always have something going on, whether it's with dance groups, spirit groups, halftime entertainment, shooting shirts in the audience, the kiss cams, the dance cams, all that sort of thing. I know just from doing the pre and post game show with Jim Kozimor, it's a real trip, because the fans that are behind us, they seem to really enjoy the whole deal, getting on TV. I mean, I guess I take that for granted. I've been on there too much, but so I think those things are all good. And one of the couple of the things that I really think the Kings have been outstanding with is the mascot Slamson. I can tell you is by far the best mascot in the NBA. And I'm an expert on three things: mascots, public address announcers, and press rooms. And what I say by press rooms, press room food. Okay? So I know where the best press rooms were, became a total expert in that. And having said that, that's why I think, with the Kings, having Slamson as a mascot he's just off the charts talented. And, he puts on a good show. Kids love him. Adults really enjoy him. So those are great things, I think, that really make the experience better. And sometimes when the team's playing crappy, kind of takes your mind off things, you can enjoy some of the other parts of it. And of course, the public address announcer, I know Scott Moak is just terrific in that. They create a little excitement before the game, get able to get people involved. And I've always said one of the more amazing things to me is how people now go to sporting events and they really think they're supposed to wear a jersey. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they thought you were silly, something wrong with you. Now it's accepted. I mean, I think that's been an amazing achievement, and it does get people certainly in the kind of the mood to be a fan when you're wearing your team's jersey or some sort of memorabilia type thing. I think that's probably pretty good. So, I think those things are pretty good, and now I'm not a big fan, and a lot of teams do this. The Kings really less than most, but you're not supposed to play music during the actual game while the game is going up and down the court, and several places do that. And I know Grant's pointed that out over the years, and sometimes I didn't even notice it, but it's not supposed to happen, and it really can affect play, in my opinion, because I know from coaching sometimes you're trying to call out signals, or your point guard is, and sometimes that may be a distraction. So I think they need to kind of ramp that back a little bit and pay more attention to it, I think. And I think maybe just a couple other things I show you. I'll just show you how old I am and how much of an old fart I've became. But I am totally not a fan of all these different color uniforms. I've always said it seems to me like the great franchises kind of know who they are. When you think of the Celtics, Lakers, Bulls, San Antonio Spurs, you can close your eyes and you can visualize their uniforms. Teams that haven't created anything, they seem like they're constantly changing colors, changing styles and all that. And they never really, I think it's just part of the sputtering process in my mind. So I just kind of wish teams would kind of decide what their identity is and stay with it and try to make it work. And then, of course, the NBA's rule to where every player can wear whatever color shoes they want. I really don't like that. I mean, the idea of a guy wearing, say, a green uniform and he's wearing orange shoes. Really? How much special identity do you need? You can wear your hair any way you want, whatever tattoos you want or not. But it's like, really? Why can't you just have some relation like even 10 years ago to where the color of the shoes sort of matched the team colors? Team, uniform, team, everybody, same team. Yeah, I know. Maybe those days will never come back, but they should, I think. We put the names on the back of the jerseys. Everybody knows who they are. So wear something that fits the uniform. So that's I think that's about it. I can't think of anything too much else. I do think, as I've said before, I think just the overall game presentation is overall really good. And, I would like to see, as I pointed out in past show, fewer timeouts, even quicker ones for that matter. Anything to speed up the game. Anything that the league can do to make the game more action, less dead time. You know, get your commercials however you can. I get all that, but I think if they do, I think TV ratings will go up. I think the enjoyment factor will go up, and this is a great game that I fell in love with as a 16-year-old, or 6-year-old actually, that I think will just grow. So anyway, love to have your thoughts on that, you know, and I know those of you that think I'm slipping into senility, this might be the evidence you've been looking for. I don't know. Mrs. Reynolds has suggested that once in a while, but I don't think so. But so anyway, give me your thoughts, and we'll be coming up some other things. I may try to help some other sports. You know, I don't just have great ideas for basketball. I want you to understand that. I'm very versatile. I can solve the problems for just about every sport. So maybe we'll get into that. But you need to subscribe. So subscribe, hit that bell, and don't miss anything. Great talking with you.